G'day guys, Clevo King. Alright, we're at the tail end of this engine here. What we're doing today is installing the lifters. Now, we're going to just work on one cylinder at a time, and I'm going to show you a couple of tips in the way that I do it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you smash the like and subscribe. Now, we've cleaned everything up. We've done the valve springs, we've done the camshaft, we've done the timing chain. So what we're going to do, we've cleaned up the push rods. Now I just wanted to show you something here guys quickly. If you look at the end of these push rods here, now I don't know if you can see this clearly or not, but see one of them, there's actually an extra one in this bunch, but one's got these little rounds, it's actually broken. Now I'll pull it out now and I'll show you which one it is. It's in the middle there. And now if you can see that clearly on the footage, I'll try and get close. I'll show you what I'm talking about. And this was one of the ones from the engine. Let's see, there's a little bit of damage on that tip. So that one's, well look, it's a good straight push rod, but we're not putting that back. That's going to cause friction on areas that don't need friction. And see how it's just breaking away around the oiling hole? So we've actually noticed a problem and we've picked it up in time. What we've done now is replace it with another stock one. So we've got a full set of 16 stock rods. Now, everyone likes to do things a different way. The way I like to install the lifters, guys, is I don't fill them up full of oil. I fit them like this. I make sure I go through the whole packet and I make sure that they all go up and down. I've had a few times I've brought new lifters and one or two have actually been stuck. They don't work. And I've had to take them back and get it sorted out, or you know, try and fix it or whatever. But so check that the lifter plunger moves up and down. Then I'm going to just get two here, one for the intake, one for the exhaust. We'll give them a quick wipe and I'll give them a little coating of this just on the bottom and on this part of the side here, and as you push it in it'll spread it up to where it needs to go. It's oil soluble, it's good stuff. Alrighty, I'll get them lubed up and then we'll cut to the scene of me dropping them in. Thanks guys. Alright guys, this is one lifter here lubed. Bit of break-in lube on the bottom, a bit on the sides. That's it for now. And the lifter has been checked, goes up and down. So we're going to put that in here. This is going to be the intake valve for number one. So we'll slide that in guys. See how the lube comes off like that? Now we've given the lifter balls and everything a really good wipe out and a good clean. Slide that all the way in. Now we'll grab the next one, we'll do the same thing quickly. Straight in guys. We'll grab two good push rods here that have been checked, that are straight, in good order. Now if you were going to go to a roller rocker with a guide plate, you need to get a hardened push rod one piece. We're not doing that, we're going to run the stock rockers on this engine for now. In another video we're probably going to upgrade to a bolt-on rocker system and see if we pick up any gains on them. So these I like to just give a tiny little bit of lube to on the end. Now make sure with these, before you feed them off, check that you look through them and you just make sure you can see the light through them so that they're clean. Blow them out, you know. The reason for this, I'll show you in a second guys, is when you feed this in to the top of the lifter, this one into here, you don't want too much there, but you don't want it dry. We're going to try and find what I refer to as zero lift. What I've got to do is get a rocker around, give it a bit of a wipe, just make sure that the grooves are lined up, inner to inner, looks good. Alright guys, so we've just got the two rocker arms here, nice clean ones. The ones from the engine were in good order, but I had a cleaner set around, so I'm just going to swap them over. What we want to check, and the reason that I don't like to put any oil into the lifter, is when you're doing up this rocker fulcrum and you get this into the seat here, see how here I've got a fair bit to go before this bolt's going to be down. It's getting a bit dark, so you're not really going to be able to see, but if you look down here at the lifter cup, if you look here at the lifter cup and the push rod, as I'm winding this down now, it's starting to already depress the lifter.
Move your finger off because of the contrast. Yep, there we go. Alright, get a little bit of light in there. Okay, there we go, may just me screen.
As it goes down, so that, guys, if we bolt this on as it sits, it's going to have way too much preload. So there's a couple of ways to get around that. Some guys would probably just leave them like this, how they are, but I've got a couple of little tips. That was the intake. Let's put the exhaust one on and try it. Another thing, guys, really important, make sure that the notch on the pedestal is lined up as you're doing it up. Like, for example, have a look at this one as it's coming down. It's quite easy if that gets caught up. If that gets caught up on one side, you'll bust it. So you just make sure that it's centered as you're coming down. Now, what I'm looking for here, guys, and I didn't show you on that last one, is what I call zero lash. Zero lash is the point where the push rod just grabs and there's no up and down movement, and we haven't interfered yet with the plunger here on the bottom. Look, if I go like this, see, it's sitting at the top, so this is what I call zero. It's got a bit of resistance, so this is zero now. Now this one, guys, if I take this one home where it's got to go, which is going to be there and torqued up, let's have a quick look. Keep the light on there and I'll show you guys a simple way to check where you're at with your lifter preload. This is a paper clip bent. You can tuck it in between the top of the cup and the groove of the lifter, and you can feel how much preload you've got. Now see, guys, this one is 30 thou, this one here is 40 thou. I like to find a happy medium somewhere between this and that. So see now, if this was your average Joe putting this engine together today and they got to this step here, they would put too much preload onto these lifters. So the performance of fitting this camshaft that's got slightly more lift, you're not going to tap into, because the lifter's not going to be able to work properly. Something I like to do is lighten the preload on the lifters as much as I can. I like to set them at about 20 thou so that you can rev the engine a little bit harder without them over pumping. If they're that hard down, the engine will be a little bit reluctant to rev. So here's another little tip, guys. Come around here and have a look. What you can do is you can make up custom space shims, right, to go between the rocker fulcrum. Look, these ones are 70 thou, and I've got a set there, and I've got a set here that are, look at that, 26, 27 thou. So what I could do to correct that preload, because they're wound down heaps, is I could grab another gauge of wire which I have here and measure it so that we know what we're working with. So that's 60 thou. Now I should cut the end of this off clean so we're not getting any interference with our readings. Cut that off clean, we'll make sure it's straight. Make sure it's straight. A bit of a squash. It's a bit of a weird wire. There's nothing interfering with that end there. So what we're going to do now, we measured this wire here, 60 thou. 60 thou's too much. Let's quickly bend this a bit. We'll come in. Something that you don't just learn. This is something that I kind of taught myself so that I know what's going on here. Now see, this one is at 0. If you try and get this wire in here between the top of the lifter cup and the clip, nothing's going to happen. Now the more that you, if I also grab the top of this rocker arm up here, and crank down on it like this, at one point the wire will go in. See, the wire will go in when you crank it enough, so you don't want that. So let's check this one here, that is now just, it's not even torqued up yet guys, but it's down. And yeah, 60 thou just goes in. That's a little bit too much. What we could do here today guys, what we're gonna do is run a set of these straight here on the shim. We're gonna pick our rocker arm up 30 thou, 26 thou. We're gonna get back to a safe hydraulic lifter preload. This engine's gonna be really happy. It's gonna pick up quite a bit of horsepower with this little tip here. The other way you can go about doing this if you're out by 50 thou or 100 thou increments is you get a custom set of push rods made Trent hardened and 80 thou wool 5/16, and they do them at any length. Now these are stock rods, these are 8.408s. So you know what you would generally keep in mind guys is if you're working on an engine that's been decked, they'll deck the block 5 thou. It's going to move your head slightly closer to your lifter. Most heads get decked 10 to 30 thou when they're getting worked. Some guys zero deck, they take their heads way down, they skim 100, 120 thou off the head. You've got to keep all of that in mind because it's going to affect your rocker geometry. So today we're going to run one of these under each one, and I'll go through and we'll set them all up. Okay guys, so if you start to put your push rods in and they're really squashing the lifters out, you're going to need to go and get yourself one of these so that you don't order the wrong length. This particular length here covers all of your Fords, 7.5 to 8.7. I tell you guys, everything I run is been between 7.9 for the roller cam stuff to 8.1, and for the flat tap it's 8.4, 8.5, occasionally 8.350 because it's a zero deck combo. There's a difference between lash and preload. What we're setting today is lift to preload. So have a look here and I'll try and get a better scene because that was a bit dark there. These are our 3 known wire gauges here, which is just paper clips. Simple, everyone's got this at home. 30 thou, 40 thou, 60 thou. Now they just so happen to be right on the money. Now this kind of, you can get welding rod, wire, whatever you can find around the house. Measure it, know your measurement, and you get your push rod. This is basically what we were doing in the engine, is putting a bit of preload on the lifter here, like this, and then measuring between this cup and underneath that clip there with that flat edge there, like this, to get in and to measure what the load is, right? So we'll line it up here so you can see the clip. Now when you've got 30 thou, you're gonna just be able to get the wire in like that. See that guys? That's 30 thou there, right? So 30, you're not going to be able to get this clip in. Now I'm trying to be just steady with my top hand. Oh, I got it in because I accidentally pressed down on it, but
you get the idea.
You get the idea.
Yeah, that's it guys.
That's it. So this is a little secret way to measure it. See when it comes up, it rides flat on the clip. So you basically know that's your installed height. This is going to be your preload, how much you're loading it down. Don't oil it. If you oil it and you make it like a solid, guys, you're going to be hanging the valve open when you're trying to set this adjustment. You're going to be wasting your time. You're not going to know where you're at. Alright guys, a couple of tips for if you're going the way of roller rockers. You're going to have to ensure that you use a hardened push rod that doesn't have a ball on the end. So not this style. It's got to be one piece with a radius, and you want a thick wool, 80 thou thick wool. So they're my 2 tips. The second tip is going to be, once you find your zero, which I've just found here and it's a bit hard to show recording, but that's zero there, no up and down, with the 7/16 studs. Now I'll take this one off here just to show you guys quickly. One turn of the stud is 50 thou. So to get the right perfect preload when you find zero, what we like to do is just 1 half turn on a 7/16 screw in stud on the poly lock. So for example, this one here where we're at, we're here, so the perfect preload for this would be 1 half turn. So from there to there, so that was 25 thou preload. Now you're probably wondering why we're fitting these without oil in the system, guys. It's because before you start the engine, you prime it, you get a couple of 1/4 inch extensions and some electrical tape on your taper 5/16 socket on the bottom. so you don't drop it in the engine, and by hand you engage that oil pump and you actually turn the engine over. Now listen, if you're fitting a new oil pump too, a little tip guys, put some Vaseline in there so it actually sucks the oil up straight away, but this is an old one so it'll work perfect.
That's an awesome little tip, otherwise with the...
Right, all the lifters are in. We're going to go hard guys, we're just going to put these on for now, but in a future video what we're probably going to do is run a bolt-on rocker, roller rocker setup like this with a hardened push rod, see if it picks up anything. Obviously the roller rocker style guide plates, you can't run these, so I just wanted to throw this little tip in here guys. We're going to rip in, keep going. Alright guys, so all of the push rods are lubed up on both ends just a bit. Now we're going to slip them in the holes. On 4 V-heads, each push rod hole is an individual round hole cut out. On the 2 V-heads, they've got a couple of big notch areas like that. So we're just going to sit all of these in place for now. So one here, one here. Very important, check the push rods aren't blocked. Okay, so they're all in, all the lifters are in, all the push rods are in for now. So what we're going to do, there's a lot of different ways that you can set your rockers. Once you've worked that preload out guys, and you've made sure that you're not going to overload them, setting them up the way that you're going to do it, I'm going to pull the rest of the shims out. I'm going to grab the rest of the rocker arms out of this box now and chuck them on quickly. And alright guys, so we've put all of the push rods in, all of the lifters are in. We're going to stop the video here. I'm going to get all of the shims and the rockers and I'm going to put them all on, and I'm going to get them all just done up by finger, and then I'm going to show you my sequence how I go through and set the rockers. Alright guys, now there's a couple of different ways to set the valves. If this was a solid cam, I'd like to use the method that's a bit different, where you set one valve, you set the intake valve when the exhaust valve is closing, and you set the exhaust valve when the intake's just opening, and they call it like the EOIC method. When you do that, you're pretty much guaranteeing that you're setting the rocker lash for a solid cam on the base circle of the camshaft. But this way here guys, this is going to sound a bit strange, but it's like the easiest way to do it. So you're at top dead now, everything that's down to the bottom we can take all the way home and do up. Now this is on 20 foot-pounds guys, you don't need too much of these guys. So that one's done. Number 1 intake, number 1 exhaust is done, number 2 intake, number 3 exhaust, number 4 intake. We'll skip number 4 exhaust there because it's a bit high. So we'll do this one. Now be mindful if they are high and you're starting that you're getting your fulcrum down in between the seat. So that's number 4 intake, number 4 exhaust. So the only one that we've missed here is this guy. We'll quickly shoot over to this side here. Oh, actually I'll just walk around here so I can get comfortable. So this guy's up. Is it up? Nope, it's down. You can set him. This guy. This one. A bit high, so we're not going to go fully to town. Yes, it feels good. Oh yeah, she likes it. There we go, so going to be done soon. just double check them all now. 20's not much. 20 is so light you've actually got to sometimes check that this isn't moving in your hands even when you've locked it up. Oh yeah guys, and once again I'm using the 6-point socket, something I forgot to mention before. Okay, so now we'll have a go at this one, up the back, which seems to be up off of its seat. So to get it started we're going to have to be a little bit persuasive. Okay, now this one's probably going to hang the valve a bit. We're getting home at top dead. That was the one that we just here, this one. Just be mindful of that fulcrum that's doing up between the head and the seat. Now guys, you're probably wondering why we just did a wall there at top dead. But we'll have a look, we'll go through now, we'll check the ones that are set. With the preload that all the push rods turn, we'll check that there's more preload in all of the lifters, except for the ones that are up. One's up a bit, but it's a bit stubborn. That one's up too. Okay, so we're going to turn it now 90 degrees from here, so from here to here. And a couple of these are going to loosen up. I'll be able to come through and check straight away the back one that we just did. This guy over here. Okay, now we're still on the ramp, so everything's tight. I'm going to go to the next 90, so from here, the next 90, right there, and then what was the last one? That this one here was tight before, and I think it was this one that was tight. Now we go to the next 90, which is back to top dead center, but it's going to be on the exhaust stroke. So that's right there. We're just having a good look now. Whatever's not up spins. There's no binding, guys. See, that one's cranked. Anything that's not engaged. Oh guys, this is beautiful. Alright guys, that's it. Lifters are fitted, rockers are back on, push rods are back in. So we're done guys. We've done the cam, timing chain, lifters, valve springs. She's all back together. Alright guys, so we've been around one revolution. We've set all of them. Now this is just hydraulic and we've pre-checked the preload. So what we're going to do now, because it's just fun, I'm going to finish a video, we'll do it after the video, is I'm going to spin it around one more time and I'm going to check them all and just be mindful that everything goes up and down, there's no friction anywhere before we introduce the oil. Alright guys, that's it. This engine's together. It's got my tick of approval. There's a couple of little jobs to go. We're probably going to film fitting the intake on this engine now actually, because we're going to fit a steel one that's heavily ported, something cool that I've had for a while that we're going to put on that's actually going to complement this build. And I'll show you how to fit a turkey pan, as they call them. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you smash that like and subscribe. Check out our channels, drop a comment, leave a like and share the videos. Alright guys, this is probably something you haven't seen before, but the other way to go about adjusting your preload is to get a full set of adjustable push rods. Now I got these off an old racing buddy of mine. Apparently they're a Manton set. They're actually adjustable rods that are really heavy duty that are ready to run. Well, the other thing you can do, guys, if you've got enough money, is buy 16 of these. They're going to be a little bit weak, but you'll get the perfect length every time, guaranteed. Just a bit of a joke there. Thanks for watching, guys. Phew!